Welcome to the Volunteer and Combination Officer section webinar today on mental fitness, the key to sustained safety, health, and well-being. I'm John Buckman. I will be your facilitator for today. We have Dr. Pat Lynch, who's our presenter. But before we turn it over to Dr. Lynch, a couple things to talk about. What's the VCOS doing, and a little bit about the technology. If you have problems with technology, email webinars@ifc.org or via the chat function, send us a message and we'll try to help you out. We know how technology can work really good and then sometimes not. If Dr. Pat has handouts, she'll be posting those or uploading those so that you can have access to them and any other resource materials that the VCOS has. And we have some general ones that are in there as well. What's the VCOS doing? I think the VCOS, the board and the executive committee are extremely busy. We may not be doing all the things that all the people want us to do, but we're doing things. Last November, we released a chaplain's guide on how to have a chaplain in your fire department. We look at how we can do branding to get the message out so we get more people aware of what the challenges are of managing a volunteer and combination officer section. Goal from day one is increasing membership. Obviously, we want more people to join. We will be 40 years old in 2004. So I think that's a big deal. We plan for the Symposium in the Sun in November of 2023. If you're not registered, if you want to attend Symposium in the Sun, go get registered now. I can tell you the main hotel last week only had 27 rooms still available. So it fills up pretty quick. We're looking at how we can increase communications, updating ribbon reports, writing 2 new ribbon reports. One ribbon report is going to be on data management. One is going to be on dogs and canines and how they can help a fire department, and part of that mental fitness stuff. We have a newsletter, we have a place on Facebook, and then we're doing webinars. We are looking at a critical thinking boot camp for sometime after the first year, and then we're looking at our in-person course deliveries and how we can get more of those and get better attendance. Here's a calendar of what's coming up, so on and so forth. We got one more webinar in June, and then we will have some in July there. And then Fire Rescue International, Kansas City. Again, if you want to come to a conference, it's a good conference to come to. So, Dr. Pat Lynch, and I refer to her as Dr. Pat. I've known her for a few years, but she has a varied background of over 25 years as a process consultant. She's worked with organizations in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. Since 2007, she's been very involved in consulting with fire departments. She has a brand new book out called Every Fire Rescue Leader is a Professional. I encourage you to get that book. Every person who wants to know more about how to manage and lead people, this book will be a help to you. It's not a novel, it's not something you read, but it is a book to help you learn how to be a better manager. And then finally, she has a BA in sociology, an MBA in economics, not mechanics, and a PhD in personnel and employment relations. Dr. Pat Lynch, the show is yours.
Thank you, Chief, and welcome to those who are here. I just want to make one adjustment. The title of my book is Every Fire Rescue Professional is a Leader. And I've made that mistake too, Chief, so, that's what happens. But the premise is that everyone in the fire service has to step up to lead at some time. And so that's the perspective of getting people ready. Today, however, we're talking about mental fitness and talking about its relationship to sustained health, safety, and well-being. Here are some of the learning objectives that I've identified. These are the things that you should be able to do. I would say you will be able to do at the end of this hour. You'll be able to define mental fitness, explain why it is a critical competency for fire rescue professionals, identify the mental fitness players, assess your own level of mental fitness, identify your own saboteurs. These are the the thoughts in your head, the bad habits that kind of lead you astray, that sabotage your effort, hence the term saboteurs. And you will be able to explain the steps you can take to gain some of these benefits and sustain them over time, because that's one of the big benefits, is that you can sustain them over time. So importantly, the information, most of the content here is copyrighted information. So positive intelligence is what we're going to be talking about, and how it helps with mental fitness, how it allows you to increase your mental fitness. Shirzad Chamine is the developer, and the information here is used with his permission and is designated by the Positive Intelligence logo on most of the slides. So let's talk about mental fitness. Something that we know is that while our mind is our best friend, it is also our worst enemy. Why is that? Because it's always trying to sabotage our efforts, to kind of bring down our potential for both performance and happiness. Every one of our negative emotions is a result of this self-sabotage. So we don't even know, most of us, I didn't know, certainly before I got involved with positive intelligence about 5 years ago. It's like, really? That's, because I used to think, why am I sabotaging myself for years? And then when I heard somebody say, oh, and you're saboteurs, I was like, wait a minute. So that's how I got involved. So we do sabotage ourselves. Usually we don't know why or how we do it or how to stop it. So this is what mental fitness is about. Mental fitness is defined as your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive mindset rather than a negative mindset. Its most important impacts are on your performance. It can help you achieve peak performance, your peace of mind and your wellness, and certainly does a lot to help you create and maintain healthy relationships. Now, I want to distinguish between mental health and mental fitness, because there are a lot of terms that, there's mental health, there's mental wellness, there's mental behavior. So what's the difference between those concepts and mental fitness? I do want to stress that they are not in competition. In fact, they complement one another. They have important differences and they work very well together. So mental health has to do with your overall psychological and emotional well-being, whereas mental fitness is your ability to thrive and be resilient in the face of adversity or in the midst of chaos. And so really it's the percentage, and we measure it by looking at the percentage of time that our minds work for us rather than against us. Mental health and mental fitness have similar, they address similar things: ability to cope with stress, with your emotions, healthy relationships. And a big difference is that mental health is addressed by qualified healthcare professionals who have the ability to diagnose and to treat mental health conditions. Mental fitness you can do on your own. Once you learn about it, once you understand it, you can work with a mental fitness coach to help you build and maintain your mental muscles. So looking at the differences also, so we use in positive intelligence, Shirzad talks a lot about, physical fitness and mental fitness. So physical fitness, of course, is the capacity of your body to undergo physical challenges and recover quickly. What comes to mind for me for the fire service is the 9/11 staircase climbs, which occur. Now, I have not taken a survey, but I would be willing to venture that most fire rescue professionals do not get up the day of a 9/11 staircase climb and say, I'm ready to go. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be fine. Going to bounce back. It's going to be great. Most people I know would have to train. They'd have to prepare. They'd have to get ready for that type of physical exertion. Mental fitness is the ability to thrive and be resilient in any cases. So if you think about the traumas that fire rescue professionals encounter every day, there are different levels of trauma, right? If we look at medical calls, you may get a call for someone with a broken leg, or someone who's non-responsive, or cardiac arrest, or what if there's an MCI? All right. So the stronger your mental muscles, the more able you are to maintain that calmness, that focus on what you need to do in front of you. Both physical and mental fitness require you to build your muscles so you can handle bigger and bigger challenges. And they both require consistent attention for sustainable results. All right. Now, unless you're the person who gets up in the morning and says, oh, I think I'll do a 9/11 staircase climb today, and I know I'll be fine, you might want to take that into account. All right. And so I mentioned growth mindset, compared to a limited mindset or a closed mindset. When we talk about growth mindset, we're talking about people who make smart, reasonable decisions, and they take creative risks. And in the face of setbacks, they hold themselves accountable. They learn from the experience, they grow from it, and they help other people do the same. Now, that sounds a lot like what you do during a hot wash or an after action conversation, right? So you already know how to get into this growth mindset. With mental fitness, you can make that even more prevalent. So the question is, why should you care about mental fitness? And that little, WIIFM at the bottom is a very technical term that we use, and it stands for what's in it for me. So why should you care? Let's find out. So there are applications of mental fitness. These are very general applications. The top row shows you the personal ones. So mental fitness can help you reduce your stress, increase your wellness, help your relationships and your career planning. It also helps in parenting. Think about how much we have heard and read and perhaps seen personally about children, teenagers, young adults who are having these serious mentally related problems. They are stressed out, they're anxious, they feel overwhelmed, they're depressed. What if you could teach your kids the skills that will help them to mitigate their stress, to decrease their anxiety, to help them get to a positive, a growth mindset so that they can deal with their very real challenges in a very positive, constructive way? That's what mental fitness can help them do. On a professional level, mental fitness can increase your emotional intelligence, can help you deal with conflicts better, can help you with your creativity, definitely your leadership, and increase performance. And these hold for individuals as well as teams. So here are some examples of how mental fitness enhances key fire rescue leadership skills. I chose these skills from my book, as Chief Buckman said, which cover 60 research-based skills. And I talk about them in terms of fire rescue professionals and what they mean. These three come from the category of skills called self-mastery. So I defined grounding as bringing acute awareness to the present by controlling your attention so you focus only on what's in front of you. Imagine you're at an incident. You may be the incident commander, you may not be. You still have decisions to make. People are running all over. Maybe it's a serious medical call and it's chaotic. Grounding, if you have developed this leadership skill of grounding, you will be able to focus on what is in front of you. Mental fitness techniques can help you to do that. So this is a safety issue. Safety for yourself, safety for your personnel, safety for your community. I define stress management as mitigating the pressure and anxiety in your daily life so you can apply methods that enable you to release unwanted tension and achieve a sense of balance. All right. Not going to take it away entirely. It will mitigate it successfully. And the stronger your mental muscles are, the more quickly and easily you can do that. So stress management is both a physical and mental health issue. And then finally, I define positive mental attitude as building and sustaining a healthy sense of self-worth by controlling your self-talk. Okay, so those saboteurs are talking in your head, controlling that and maintaining a high level of morale. This goes to your well-being. So how do we self-sabotage? I've used the term sabotage, I've used saboteurs. So the saboteurs are the voices in your head. No, it's not those ones that you hear about and it's like, oh, yeah, we hear these voices. And no, these are the voices in your head that have been with you since you were little, and they generate negative emotions. They represent automated patterns for how we think, how we feel, how we respond. We all have saboteurs. It's part of our makeup as human beings. They cause all of your negative emotions, your stress, your anxiety, self-doubt, unhappiness, and they undermine your performance, your well-being, and your relationships. So they do a lot of harm. Now, having said that, let me also say, be very clear that the saboteurs each, and there are 10 of them, we'll talk about them in just a minute, all of the saboteurs have amazing strengths. And they start out by helping us survive. And even when we are children, maybe there are things we're afraid of, or maybe we're not in a good situation, and our saboteurs help us survive. They do that. And then as we grow and we learn more, we get more of a worldview, we don't need those same messages. Yet they have become, so this is a physiological fact. The neurons in our brain, when something happens, we are now programmed to go down that path that takes us to the part of our brain where the saboteurs reside. So, but I do want to say we all want to have the positive strengths of the saboteurs. When they take those strengths to an extreme is where we run into problems. So let's look at the mental fitness players. Now, I am not a good drawer, so I need you to imagine, if you will, that rectangle represents a playing field, like a soccer field or a football field. The X's on the left represent the 10 saboteurs. The O's on the right represent the 5 sage powers. And so let's talk about, these are the players. We've got the saboteurs and we've got the sage. So just so you know, everything that I'm talking about here is research-based. In fact, it's highly research-based. Shirzad and his team did research for years and years, and they're continuing to do research. And that research is documented in his book called Positive Intelligence. But the results are from hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, from Stanford University students, hundreds of probably thousands now, because he does teach there. He is a coach, and he also teaches at Stanford University. The research includes world-class athletes and over 500,000 participants from 50 different countries. So what he and his team did, they looked at 4 areas of scientific research. They looked at neuroscience, at positive psychology, at performance science, and at cognitive behavior psychology. The results, they all kinds of analyses, and then they conducted a factor analysis. And very simply, factor analysis means you're taking a whole bunch of data and you're breaking it. You're getting to the core. For example, we know, I don't know how many colors there are in the color spectrum. And there are only 3 or 4 primary colors, and it's the combination of those primary colors that enable the other colors. So this is the same way. So taking all those data, doing the factor analysis, what they found is that the core factors that affect performance and well-being are 10 negative factors, which Shirzad calls saboteurs, and 5 positive factors, which he calls the sage powers. So here are the 10 saboteurs. I'm going to explain, tell you their names in just a moment. But what I want to show here is that the arrow on the right is pointing to one in particular. That saboteur is called the judge. And by the way, they have all very self-descriptive names. The judge is the master saboteur, is the one that creates all the problems. And that's the one who, if you think about that playing field, says, okay, well, Pat just messed up. So come on out, guys. So maybe we'll take the stickler. Come on out. Come on, let's really beat her up now. So the judge is a source of a lot of our negative emotions, anxiety, stress. So here are the other 9, the accomplice saboteurs. We've got the controller, the hyperachiever, the restless, the hypervigilant, the pleaser, the stickler, the avoider, the victim, and the hyperrational. I'm going to go into detail on 2 of them in just a little bit. And if we have time, we can talk about some of the characteristics of the others. I'm not sure we're going to have time for that today, but just want to let you know. So these are the accomplice saboteurs. So these 9 plus the judge make up the 10 saboteurs. Now, the sage is the right side of your brain, and that holds your sage power. This is who you are. This is your essence. This is where your wisdom resides. And a lot of that you had since you were a child, but you just didn't know how to access it because the saboteurs are so strong. And so the sage powers that enable us to be calm, to think clearly, to make decisions that are aligned with our values, and to really conduct some of the what we call executive functions of the brain. So planning, strategies, it allows us to think things through. So the sage powers are empathize, allowing you or helping you have compassion for yourself and for others. Explore is about looking at what is, and without judgments, without agenda, discerning the facts, just the facts. Innovate means that, once you know what you're looking at, if it feels hard, let's look for another way, because the sage pathway is ease and flow in life. All right. The sage helps us toward more ease and flow. And so if there's a problem, let's find other ways that we can do this to make it easy, or at least easier. Navigate is looking at the alternatives and saying, what is the best way forward for us in this situation? And activate, as you might guess, takes you to inspired action. So those are the 5 positive factors, the 5 sage powers. Now, the factor analysis research also showed there are only 3 core muscles that build mental fitness. There's the saboteur interceptor. So, when your saboteur is as soon as you feel a negative emotion, a saboteur is hijacking you. And so we're going to learn in mental fitness teaches you how to intercept those and shift to a sage growth mindset. Second muscle is the sage muscle, and the third is self-command. So again, this is all science. It's physiology, it's neuroscience. The saboteurs, and I'm doing here because the saboteurs are on the left side of your brain and the sage is in the right side. I'll show you a little diagram in just a minute. So the saboteurs actually reside in your brainstem, left part of your brain, and that they control the limbic system, which I'm sure controls emotions. It includes things like your heart rate, all the automatic bodily functions, and the fight or flight reactions are all in the left side of our brain. And that's where the saboteurs hang out. That's where they operate from. The sage is in the right part of your brain, in the middle prefrontal cortex. That's where you have empathy. That's where you have curiosity and compassion and creativity. And as I said, the executive functions. So this is where your brain is able to, so in your saboteurs, in the other part, it's mostly reactionary. In the sage area, it allows you to collect information and put it together, make sense of it. So your planning functions come from the right side of your brain. When you increase your muscles so that you strengthen the sage muscles, you are better prepared to do the planning, to think strategically, to take care of all those functions that are so important. So here's a little diagram of a pathway. So this is in your brain, as I say, and there are billions of neurons. So this is an artist image of what one neuron looks like. And so you see at the top, there's an event that occurs. That event triggers your different neurons, and it moves down till it comes to a fork in the road, if you will. And it either goes into the left brain, which is where the saboteurs are, or it goes to the right brain. Now, the saboteur's perspective is that whatever that event is, it is bad. It could be really, really bad, in fact. In the right side of the brain, whatever it is, the sage perspective is it is a gift or an opportunity. So I'll talk more about that in just a moment. The saboteurs motivate you through negative emotions. They make you afraid if you feel guilty or ashamed or anger or stress-filled, anxious. Those are all your saboteurs at work. They have hijacked you. One or more of them has hijacked you. Sage motivates us through positive emotions. Creativity, curiosity, passion, purpose, empathy are sage emotions, again, toward the growth mindset and positive. The saboteurs might generate success, and often they do, because of their strengths. However, when they go to extremes, you can't be happy. So how many times, for example, have you or someone you know said, you know what, once I get that promotion, I'm going to be really happy, or that's it. This will make me happy. This will make me successful, or if I get that raise, or, whatever that it might be. Then you get them and you're still not happy. They don't make you happy. The sage not only can help you generate your highest success, but also sustained happiness, because that's where your sense of purpose, that's where your passion resides. And the sage muscles, when strengthened, will help you in those areas. So the negative emotions caused by your saboteurs hurt your ability to see clearly, which is key to your health, welfare, well-being for you, your personnel, and your communities. The saboteurs reduce your ability to respond, with empathy, with curiosity, with creativity, be able to make clear-headed, calm, reasoned decisions, even in the moments of chaos. All right. And that empathy comes in handy when you or your personnel are suffering from compassion fatigue, right? You've seen it all. Maybe it was the same person, a frequent flyer, and here's that call again at 2 a.m. Okay. Your sage part of your brain can help you still have compassion for that person. So the question, I see there's a question and answer here, so you know the answer, but the question here is, are negative emotions good for you? And the answer is only for 1 second, because they alert you to a problem. They alert you that a saboteur is about to hijack your emotions. The analogy that Shirzad uses is putting your hand on a hot stove. All right. So, and the question there is pain good for you? And the answer is, of course, in this situation, because it lets you know you are in danger. All right. So that you then have a choice. You can remove your hand and stop that pain, or you can leave it there and suffer. This is the same thing. So the image that he uses, he said, imagines the saboteurs are pressing your hand on the hot stove. Your choice is to let them continue to hijack you, or to shift to your sage part of your brain, remove that pain. And so mental fitness can help you do that. So now I'm going to go into, let's see where we are in time. We're good. Okay, so I've chosen 2 of the 10 saboteurs to go into some detail so you can see what it is that we're talking about. Now, again, the judge is a universal saboteur, and we all have pretty high levels of the judge. All right. Now, it's important to know we are not our saboteurs. All right. We have saboteurs that are in us. They're in our brains, and they control a lot of the things that we think, that we do, and control our actions. However, they are not who we are. All right. So please do not make the mistake and say, I'm the judge or I'm the controller. No, I have a judge saboteur. I have, a lower level of controller saboteur, and it's there. Saboteurs are always with us, always will be with us. What we can do, though, is increase our ability to recognize them when they first appear and refuse to let them hijack us. So what the judge does is find faults with us, with other people, and with situations or circumstances. So we blame other people, or we blame the situation. We're judging them, or they're bad. They're not good for you. And the judge causes most of our disappointment, our anxiety, guilt, shame, regret, and importantly, activates the accomplice saboteurs. So again, thinking about that playing field, the judge often appears first, and then it's like, okay, come on, you call in the players that are needed to give you a bad time. Why is the judge the universal saboteur? This is biology. When human beings were created, we had an innate knowledge or a way to survive. We had to be able to survive. So our ancestors needed to distinguish between animals that would hurt them and that would not hurt them and might even be useful. What plants they should avoid because they're poisonous, what plants are okay. So as a result, we have this innate survival ability that enabled them to survive. And again, when we are kids, if there's anything that seems threatening, the judge is there to identify, that's something that's going to hurt you, but and so that's where it begins. This is the judge's strength, is to help us survive. Now, because it's focused on survival, what it does, and again, this is the strength, it reduces our chances of being surprised or hurt by unanticipated dangers, either physical dangers or emotional dangers. So that is the huge strength, desirable strength of the judge saboteur. Now, the saboteurs tell us lies. They pretend that they are our friends. So here are some of the judge's lies to justify, to show you, I am your friend, you need me. So the judge is saying in our heads, without my pushing you, you are going to get lazy and complacent. So you're welcome. I'm preventing you from becoming lazy. Without my punishing you for mistakes, you're not going to learn anything, and you're just going to do it over and over again. So here I am. I'm your friend, punishing you. And how many times have we heard, this is for your own good? Okay. Usually a lie when it comes from the judge. Without scaring you about bad future outcomes, you're not going to do anything to prevent them. So they will happen over, and it'll be like Groundhog Day, over and over and over again. Without my judging others, you're going to lose your objectivity, and you're not going to be able, people will take advantage of you because that's what they do. And I will prevent that from happening. or without my making you feel bad about negative outcomes, you're not going to change them at all. So as you can see, I am your friend and you need to listen to me. All lies. So the judge's characteristics for us, our judge badgers ourselves for past mistakes or current shortcomings. They can be very, very small. They can be very big, anything in between. The judge loves it when we make mistakes. The judge also, as I said, judges other people. Our judges focus on what is wrong with others instead of seeing what is right, what is positive, what you can appreciate, how they can help you. And it makes, these inferior, superior comparisons that really are harmful to relationships, because the judge says, oh, and here's how you're much better. And then so you feel, okay, makes you feel better perhaps. And the other person saying, that person's full of himself. Also circumstances. The judge insists that any circumstance, any outcome is bad. Nowhere near a gift or opportunity, whatever it is bad, and I am here to protect you from it. So the impact, because all the saboteurs impact not only ourselves, but others. So as the master saboteur, as I said, the judge is the origin of all the negative emotions. Now, here's what, and perhaps you can relate to this. By judging others, so when my judge, let's say there's a performance issue. And so you come in and I'm talking to you about how you can improve your performance in the future. Yet somehow either the way I say it or the words I use makes you feel defensive. Here's your judge. She's attacking you. You need to take her out. And so what I do, I trigger your judge, and then your judge comes back at me, triggering my judge, and it goes into a downward spiral. Whatever the issue is, it's going to be escalated. So instead of a productive conversation, it might become very, very ugly. And that's the judge. And then judging at any level, ourselves, other people, or circumstances, harms the relationships. So that's where the judge is coming from. Now, of the other saboteurs, I chose the hypervigilant because I thought perhaps that in your profession, this is one that you might recognize. If not in yourself, then perhaps in others. Because, as you will see, so hypervigilant, in your profession, you need to be vigilant. You need to be aware of what is going on because that keeps you safe, others safe, your community safe. That's it. It's a safety issue. What happens though, when you get off shift, when you're in the state of hypervigilance, which is good, and that is one of the strengths of the hypervigilant saboteur, but then you go home and you can't turn it off, or you can't even turn it down. If you think of a rheostat, and when you're on the job, the rheostat is set really high because it's a safety issue. When you leave, though, when you're outside the job, you need to bring it down. And so the question is, how quickly and easily are you able to do that? So the hypervigilant saboteur, provides continuous, intense anxiety about all the dangers on those that could go wrong. So these are real and imagined dangers. And there's a vigilance, so he cannot ever rest. Now, here are the strengths. And, I see these strengths in so many fire rescue professionals. You are vigilant, loyal, reliable, dependable, hardworking. You're sensitive and aware of true risks and dangers, not just to yourselves, but to others and to your communities. Guardians, I like that word a lot when it's applied to fire rescue professionals. You are the guardians of your families, of your communities, of your personnels, of your organizations. You're capable of great perseverance and consistent work toward objectives. you're also capable of instituting and preserving and using systems and structures to impose order and stability. To me, the best example, the most obvious example I can think of is the incident command system. All right. So there's a big incident. You're going there. It's chaotic. You probably have a lot of responders, maybe from different agencies, different types of responders. How are you going to put it all together? Well, your hypervigilant saboteur's strength, one of the strengths, is the ability to impose order and stability. And that's what the ICS allows you to do. So, who would not want these strengths, right? Now, the hypervigilant saboteur's lie is that life is full of dangers. And if I don't look out for them, who will? I am your friend because I'm always, always searching for those dangers that are all around you. You may not see them, but I can see them, and I will point them out to you because I am your friend and I am watching for those dangers for you. Yes, there are dangers, and the hypervigilant strength is in identifying them. However, when it goes to that extreme, when the rheostat stays stuck at full, that's when there's a problem. So the characteristics, and see if you know anyone who might have these characteristics. This is when the hypervigilant takes the strengths to an extreme. So you always feel anxious. You have chronic doubts about yourself and others. You have an extraordinary sensitivity to danger signals. So this is where the hyper and the hypervigilant comes from. It's like off the charts and totally unnecessary most of the time. Constant expectation of mishap or danger. You are actively looking for danger. You are looking for what might go wrong. And you're jumping all over anything that you think did go wrong. You're suspicious of what other people are up to because you know that people mess up. And it's your job to see or to anticipate that and to provide warning so that you can avoid it or maybe mitigate it. All right. But you're very suspicious. And so you might seek reassurance and safety in guidance in your procedures, your rules, your institutions, your authorities, and need I say, traditions. So even some of these, traditions, and I have pretty good idea of what traditions, the role that traditions play in the fire rescue service. Having said that, they're like assumptions. Sometimes they have an expiration date. And so yet we cling to them in traditions, inside and outside the fire service, because we have believed in them. And so it sometimes may seem disloyal or disingenuous to say, wait a minute, this has always worked for us. Why would we think of changing it? Well, that may be your hypervigilant saboteur at work. So the impacts of the hypervigilant on ourselves and others. This is a really, really hard way to live. You experience constant anxiety, and that burns a lot of energy that you need. And especially you in your jobs, you need a great deal of energy. And this, a constant state of anxiety is going to sap your energy probably very quickly and take that away from you. You feel a loss of credibility, or you do, in fact, because you are so, you point out this might happen, or think about if you have kids. Oh, no, we can't let them go to the playground because they might fall and hurt themselves. Oh, no, my son is not getting a driver's license at 16 because he might hurt himself or somebody might hit him in a car. We're not doing that. So you're looking for dangers, and you're beginning to, to say there's danger here. There is danger in the world. And again, here we're talking about taking it to an extreme. And then finally, other people begin to avoid you because you're so intense, and your anxiety and your vigilance, your hypervigilance just is so energy draining of others that they don't want to have anything to do with you, or they want to minimize their time with you. So those are the saboteurs. That's some of what they do. Let's turn now to the sage. As I said, the sage is a part of your brain. It's the right side of your brain, and it's associated with the positive emotions, with peace and calm, creativity, compassion, clear-headed focus, with big picture. So that's why you can perform these strategic level. You can think strategically. You can engage in, say, strategic planning, succession management, change leadership. You can run an incident, even a large incident, because you have the capacity in the right side of your brain. And the stronger your mental muscles, the more quickly and more capably you're able to engage in those activities. Now, the sage operates from the sage perspective, which is every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. So let's take a look at how that might work. Now, Shirzad uses a fable. I'm not sure if that's the correct word. It's a story that has been passed down from a religion, and I don't know which one, but it's been passed down, and he uses it to illustrate, the question is this good or is this bad? So the story is this. There was an old farmer who had his farm, and he had this stallion, and he trained the stallion. He was very proud of it. So one year he entered it into a competition at the county fair. The stallion won first prize. So when he got home, his neighbors came over and they said, "Oh, congratulations, you have the stallion. It's wonderful. It's so valuable." And the old farmer's response was, "Who is to say what is good and what is bad?" So neighbors kind of scratched their heads and walked away. A few days later, the stallion was stolen by thieves who knew of the stallion's increased value. The neighbors came to the old farmer and said, "Oh, your stallion is gone. You worked so hard and so valuable." And the farmer said, "Who is to say what is good and what is bad?" About a week later, the stallion reappeared. He'd broken loose, and on his way home, he brought a bunch of untamed mares with him. The neighbors came and said, "Look, you now have a herd of horses. This is wonderful, and you got your stallion back." The farmer said, "Who is to say what is good and what is bad?" A few weeks later, his son was trying to tame one of the wild mares. He fell off, broke his leg. The neighbors came, "Oh, this is terrible. He broke his leg. He's not going to be able to work. He can't do this. He can't do that." The farmer said, "Who is to say what is good and what is bad?" A few days later, the imperial army came through the town, and they took all the able-bodied men and boys to fight in a war that had just broken out. The neighbors this time knew enough not to go to the old farmer because they knew his response. Who is to say what is good and what is bad? So that takes us to the question for mental fitness. Which perspective is true? Is it the saboteur perspective that this is bad, or the sage perspective that this is a gift? And the answer is whichever you believe becomes true. It's like seeing, so for example, when our saboteurs see things, they're looking for all the negatives there. And so we can continue down that path and looking, "Oh, this is really bad, and these are the ways that it's bad." Or we can say, this was a bad thing that happened. What can we learn from it? What can we find out? What can we discover? Okay, so the sage power of discovery, and explore. What can we learn about this incident so we don't repeat our mistake? Okay, and so that takes you in an entirely different direction of questioning. So here's some examples of how bad events or tragic events or negative events can become gifts or opportunities. We all know what happened with COVID, all right? A terrible pandemic. Yet the gift or opportunity, because you have to look for them. You have to look for the gifts or opportunities. They're not always readily available, and you may not know for some period of time. When I was 23, I suddenly lost 75% of my hearing. Affected my life significantly. It took me years to finally realize what some of the gifts were from that. Okay, so COVID, we had a near-term gift because what that did was trigger some discussions. It brought mental health into the public domain. And though we still have a long way to go inside and outside the fire service, there are now discussions about mental health, including what we can do about it, especially in the workplace. So that's not something that would have happened probably. So we're learning. This is the power of learning from these. That's a sage reaction. So a woman named Candy Lightner founded MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, because her daughter was killed by a drunk driver in 1980. The goal of MAD is to save lives by ending impaired driving. And so Candy was inspired to create this organization because of this tragedy in her family. So she was inspired. That's a sage reaction. Similarly, Michael J. Fox founded a foundation to do Parkinson's research when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He can't think that he would have done that otherwise had not that happened. So those are examples of real gifts and opportunities that can come out of tragedy. Okay, so the fitness question is it really possible to shift from saboteur to sage response even in tough challenges? And the answer unequivocally is yes. And the speed and depth of the shift depends on the strength of your mental muscles. So here are some ways that you can know what those are. So here are some links. The first one is to the Positive Intelligence homepage. It has a ton of information about mental fitness, about the saboteurs, about SAGE, and the science. It goes more into the science and the neuroscience behind positive intelligence and mental fitness. There also is, on the second one, the mental fitness self-assessment. I can't remember, it's maybe 15 or 20 questions. You take it online, you submit it, and a few minutes later, you get your results. The results are in the form of a percentage called PQ, positive quotient. It's like IQ is intelligence quotient, and EQ is emotional. This is positive quotient. It's the percentage of time your mind works for you versus against you. And we're looking for 75% or more. If you're not there, then you have work to do to strengthen your mental fitness muscles. There's also the saboteur's assessment that you can take that, again, probably about 20 questions. You take them, submit them, and a couple minutes later, you get your results. So, for example, here's what the results could look like. I don't know who James is. I'm just using him as an example here. So the 9 saboteurs are listed. Judge is not, because everybody's got way, way high levels of the judge. And on a 1 to 10 scale, it tells you what proportion of each saboteur, is in you. And so we see here, just from the bar charts, that that James here has a very high level of the controller saboteur, pretty high level of the avoider, and hypervigilant, and then it kind of goes down. So this is what the results will look like. If you pay attention to that note at the bottom, you can also, with your results, you can click on that, and it will give you a ton of information about all the saboteurs and some of their characteristics, the lies that they tell, the strengths that they have. So that's a great way to learn more about it. Now, there is a program. So Shirzad has created a program to help people increase their mental fitness. And just, again, comparison here between wellness programs and mental fitness. Wellness programs only address the symptoms of negative emotions. So stress, anxiety, okay, we can calm them down, but how do you make that sustainable? All right, mental fitness addresses the root causes of those negative emotions by nurturing a growth mindset. Your wellness programs can improve aspects of performance and well-being and may improve performance. Mental fitness enables sustainable long-term change, improving both performance and increasing happiness. So, and I know I have just a few minutes, so I'm going to just kind of go through here quickly. Positive intelligence, again, it works through neuroscience. These patterns of behavior that come from our saboteurs exist in the form of neural pathways, which we call mental muscles, that automatically generate our responses. And so the approach is to help you intercept, and I'll show you. It also tells you that insight for any positive change, whether it's physical change, mental change, 20% insight. So you can, I know how to use these, machines in the gym. I know what I should do. If you don't implement, it's not going to happen. So sustained change toward a more resilient mind comes from establishing stronger neural pathways to the sage right side of the brain to form new habits, and to get when events happen, that they automatically go to sage more often than not. And so we have a way to do that. They're very easy, and I'm almost out of time, but they basically involve, you can do this in the moment. So you're in the midst of chaos, take 10 seconds. And the idea is you focus intensely on a physical sensation, on a physical sense, like looking at something intently and really seeing it. What are the colors? What are the shapes? What are the size? What is it? Or touch. You're touching something with great, great intensity, brings you helps to ground you. So, and this is how it works. So that fork in the road I showed you before, these PQ reps, okay, can be as short as 10 seconds, can be longer, give you that time to pause and to choose, am I going down to the left sage side of my brain, saboteur, or the right side of my brain, and get a sage response. So basically, it's an 8-week program, guided program. You do a lot on your own. It takes about 2 hours a week. Most of it's on your own. And it operates, so this is what you can do right now. If you're feeling negative emotions, you just stop because you're in saboteur mode. And you do some PQ reps to quiet the saboteurs and activate the sage. And that allows you to take more reasoned, calmer action. So next step, I think one thing you can do right now is to recognize that you do have that choice when faced with a negative situation. You can identify at least 3 ways that event represents a gift or opportunity, or you can let it go and just putting it behind you. I think of this as putting all the negative luggage, if you will, into your suitcase, get on an express train, and when it's speeding through, you throw the luggage off the train. You're done. No looking back, no second thoughts. You are done. Educate yourself further. These are the links that I provided to you before. And you can also, if you're interested, contact me if you want a complimentary consultation, 30 minutes, no strings attached. If you do the assessment, one or both the assessments, you want to talk about it, let me know, and we'll have that conversation. If you want to know anything about mental fitness, positive intelligence, or enrolling in the program, please contact me. And I will tell you, I'm not selling this program. I will let you know, however, that Shirzad does. It's available on his website, on the Positive Intelligence website. And because I'm a part of this program, I'm a coach in this program, I can offer significant discounts. So if that's something you might be interested in, contact me. Here's my contact information. I thank you for your time and attention, and also thank you for your service. So, Chief, back to you.
Oh, Dr. Pat, of those attendees that are on here today, I got to believe their head is spinning. This is all so great stuff. I hope the attendees will let you know that as well. We have Arkansas, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Texas, Bloomfield, Connecticut. I think there's like 8 people on there from Bloomfield, Connecticut. So thank those guys and gals for coming on. Uh, yeah, we're at the top of the hour, but as Dr. Pat said, she will give you a free consultation,
Hmm?
no strings attached. If you have a question about this, you want to know more about it, please send her an email. Do not hesitate. This is one of the most positive ladies I've ever met in my life. She is one of my heroes. I have 2 other heroes that have taught me so much about how to control my brain. Zig Ziglar, who is deceased, and Dennis Waitley, who just turned 90 years old and believes he is going to China next year to do a presentation. So, you know, again, I want to just close it out with that. You again, take advantage of Dr. Pat's comments, her presentation. Go look some of this stuff up. You can't change yourself. I know many times when she had talked about somebody or some saboteur, I'd be going, "Yep, I know that guy. I know that gal. Yep, he does that. She does this." So you can always relate that. And then yourself. How do you become more positive? When you wake up in the morning, you say, glad to be awake. I'm glad to get up. So with that, Dr. Pat, thank you very much for an hour filled with so much information. Help us help train our brain to be more positive in the things that we have to deal with. So again, for the attendees that are here, this will be available within 24 hours on the web. So that any of your other people that you want to go see this, please share this. Share all the VCOS webinars with anybody that's out there, because we know that these kind of things, short to the point, will help you. God bless each and every one of you. Have a safe day. Goodbye.